Alright guys, what's going on? Yeah, now we said we got some development done. Yeah, you see that manifold there facing forward, and then that one's facing back, and then it's kind of hard to see the angle of where it's at from over here, but you kind of see it going there. It's gonna pass by the transmission. I ended up getting, I got a miter saw. And I ended up getting these metal discs from Lowe's for freaking $2 and some odd cents. So I ended up buying 4 of them. I can't. Oh, you know what? I left them all in the other car, but I got 4 of those guys, so in case they break. But you cut slowly, and you can do that, you know, more than a chop saw. So we got this piece here. We will come back to that. You guys see some funny business going on, but basically that manifold there, I had cut him to go that way, face back, and then I was gonna, from that piece that was out, I would join that back up with the Y to feed the turbo, like come back this way and then go up. But I was taking space right there. So, and then started thinking about running pipe that's like, they have an oval pipe, they call it, like that. It's like 6 inches wide by 2.5 inches wide, and you can do that. And I was like, oh, I would split that, maybe, you know, have 3/4 on one or whatever, so I could have one side for the feed to the turbo, and the next side would be the down pipe back. Because if I was going up here, I would take all that space and have to wrap around and have to use in between the steering shaft and the frame rail. So then we've always, you know, kind of talked about having both manifolds shooting forward. Well, this manifold, well, it's really that manifold on this side, which it should be, what do you call it? You know, it hit the rail. I cut it like that. Sorry, I meant to say that differently, because that's all a part of my setup. If you were to take the driver's side manifold, put it on the passenger side, it will come forward here, but then right in this area down low, you see that piece from, you know, that whole piece, that's for the alternator. That pipe runs so low that it'd be hard to get an angle to come across the alternator. So now we're like, okay, we're gonna wrap the turbo, so use the stock manifolds how they are facing backwards, and then from this side I would connect a piece going from the bottom underneath the transmission coming back to over here, which is sort of like the Soho kit. I don't even know the Soho kit is a single turbo setup for the VQ35, and then join it back here and then come forward. Well, then I had this guy on this side, and me and my brother, we had talked about facing both manifolds forward. Then he's like, hold on, don't you have a next manifold? Or no, he said, or we can get a next manifold. And I'm like, hold on, I got the spare fucking manifold from over here. So I took that manifold, I put it over here, and I don't need to cut it because I don't need no alternator. So what I plan on doing is going from that side, that manifold that's over there is going to stay like that. So that manifold is going to travel around the back, come around the front, and then come through here in between the frame rail, the cross member, and the steering shaft. And I only need 2 1/4. 2 1/4, and then come up here, join up to a Y with this manifold. You know, I'm gonna chop this and then make like either a Y or, you know, do V-bend, and then that will then come right here, and then in this place I have the turbine sitting of the HX52 or HX55, whichever one I could find at a decent price. You know, that's what I'm gonna put. So then basically your turbine will be here, like your T4 flange will be here, your turbine will be here, the downpipe will go forward, back, and then come to like where the stock, right here, where the stock location of my original downpipe was on the KA, and then have the compressor here. The compressor is then gonna shoot, the hot side's gonna go over there back to the stock, kind of stock place where I have it, or maybe I could do something to come over here. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But anyhow, so it'll be compressor, hot side, go to the IC elbow, go into the front of the elbow, basically the intercooler, and then come around. I have my blow off valve down there, that can stay there, and then shoot this up, put my throttle body here, and then make a pipe that connects, have a Q45 flange here with the Q45 throttle body, and just have a 3-inch pipe that mounts up to there to a next flange. So, and then if I need to do work, I could take this piece out from there. The same thing with this whole setup of this manifold to V-bands there. So if I just need to take up this manifold, that's all I have to do. I separate it right there. One of the things is I don't want to put too many V-bands everywhere because, fucking exhaust leaks and all that shit. So it's like that back one, I'll make one from there, make that run over to here, like, running parallel. To be like, maybe I have to put a split there for it to, like, be. But then, like from here, make something, or make it, put the V-bands on here, the V-flange on here, and then make that wide pipe go down, and then maybe do a V-band over there so it has, thing. Because one of the biggest things is trying to put it into the car. If you have a pipe that long, you got to raise up the car in order to push it in and slide it around. There's so many different things that go on when you're developing, custom systems. So at least now, like we said, I'll go chop that, put a V-band, join that next side of the cylinder, and then come up here to a T4 flange, and then bam, turbo set up. Sometimes I start worrying about fluid dynamics, just because that passenger side is going to have a nice long runner, and this one's kind of short to where it is, that it might, like throw off the volume. Like this side's going to pull out faster than this side of the head, because this side so much got a restriction. But then I run an open dump. So when I put this pipe here and connect the Y, I'm going to put, 44 millimeter V-band wastegate, like a TL MVR or whatever. Put that there, and then once that opens up in full boost, then that side of the head's going to, be able to flow, flow good, that it's not going to have no restriction, because that's one of your issues, when you run turbos, especially with log manifolds, is that's where they hinder on top in the higher RPMs, because there's so much, when I say fluid, I'm talking about air, because it moves just like, water. So if you can picture water, but there's so much going on. So it's like once you have it open there, it's just going to be able to pull sort of like a vacuum out from this part of the head. So, but then, that's where I was talking with my brother-in-law, is if I were to, put, let's say a wideband on this bank and a wideband on that bank, how much of a difference would I see in terms of AFRs? I don't think, like we said, we might see that much, maybe about a 0.1 or 0.2 of the difference, but it's not going to be like the passenger bank is going to run like a 13.5 and boost, while this one's running like a 12.1, but not even like a 10. So, and then if you put a wideband after the turbine, those two sides are blowing, but then you're kind of getting an average, and then you're likely to lean one out on the passenger bank. But that's all theory and hypothetical shit. But it's pretty cool, because let's say that's where guys start going and getting their EGTs on each cylinder, or even having a wideband just on that bank, or even each individual cylinder, which is real crazy. That's like racing shit. But also you would need like sequential, so you can adjust each individual cylinder. But regardless of what, I'm over here talking nonsense. That passenger side is going to wrap around, come to the front, join up with this on a Y, come here, 44 millimeter wastegate out there. My radiator now, because the HX52 is kind of a big beast. My radiator, I took out the condenser because I will never have AC in this car again. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's much needed. What do you call it? Like I might do a V mount or a V mount, or at least I seen some guys kind of chop this and then sit the radiator in closer. So that's an option. I don't know yet, but I got to see how big this whole set turbo is. They're kind of nasty. They're nasty. They're nasty. They're big, but once I get it propped up to where I need to be, then I can know where I can put my flange and do everything else, and then I could see how far the turbo gets. But then again, if I have the compressor here, I don't want to be pulling in hot air from the compressor. From the radiator. So there's quite a different things to set up, but at least I got a decent starting point to where I could get everything kind of mocked up and then get it situated. But regardless of that, hopefully you guys I wasn't rambling on and I kind of made some sense. If not, just drop me a comment if you need some explanation. I'm not no engineer, but it's just like kind of just see it's just like kind of like common sense of how things should route or be. You don't need to make it harder than what it is. So, and then the other thing too, what I was looking at was to make 600 horsepower on this motor. I would need roughly, I think it was about, I think it was like 64 pounds per minute. I don't know. I got the calculation somewhere. But then if I want to make 1,000, because I'm like, let me get a turbo that can meet my needs down low, but then also have room to grow. I would need a turbo that would push 104 pounds per minute. So that's kind of a big drastic, jump. But I'm thinking, especially with the flow maps of whole sets, they're kind of different because, different power in regards to diesel and spark ignition, because diesels run a little bit, well, they don't really run cooler. I don't know. I read somewhere some foolishness. But basically, they're different things. So that's like that whole set HE 3.1 that I had on the car before, or HE 4.1, or sorry, HE 5.1. What the hell am I getting on with that? But that one was said to make, only like 450, I think, on a diesel. But then, on these cars, you can, that motor before, the KA motor with that, I can, make 600. But, it's all about fucking different shit. There's so many variables. But anyhow, learn them and, apply that shit. All right, like.